How you guys doing? It's Dyno Dan here. Let me know when you're with us. Do a little barbecue chat. Talk about some upcoming things. Shoot me any questions, anything you might want to know, talk about. Um, what's up, dudes? How you doing, man? Been praying for your wife. Um, got information coming in right now about a buddy of mine. Um, so, oh, thank God, man. Um, I gotta send out this information. A buddy of mine's been in the hospital, going on a week and a half now. So if you guys are prayers, if you guys pray, lift up my buddy Edio. Um, Let me send out this information real quick. So we're gonna talk about barbecue today. We're gonna talk about anything you want to as far as barbecue goes. Um, Everything from meat to technique to whatever you want to talk about. So go ahead and shoot your questions in. Thanks, dude. Um, I don't know it all. I know what works for myself and the style I cook. Um, so I can share if you care. um, for me, it looks like I'm going to be doing much of what I'm doing now, which is catering, smaller catering gigs, meat sales, state competitions, things like that. What's up, Joe? How you doing, man? Just trying to start doing some live streams here, talk about barbecue and the different things that go with that. So I appreciate you stopping by. If you got any comments or questions, go ahead hit it up in the chat section. I'm relaying some information right now. I just got on a buddy of mine who's been in the hospital with COVID. So um, I'm once I get some people on, we'll go ahead and start talking anything you want to talk about. It don't necessarily need to be questions. It could be comments. It could be discussion material. Whatever, whatever, whatever you guys want to talk about. Hey. He's not doing too well. Every day seems to be getting a little harder for him. So we're going to just continue praying for him and the doctors, and pray that he'll have a turnaround. So what I got coming up, New Year's Eve, or actually tomorrow, I'll start to cook. I'm doing 10 briskets. Um, I'm been getting. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Bought some briskets from a well-known company called Brand Beef. Um, they put out a really nice prime brisket, pretty reasonable priced. Um, so I was able to get 2 cases, and brisket of that quality out here is a little more expensive. So I've got 10 of them, and I got about 7.5 already sold. I'll pretty much put the brakes on it right now and kind of let it coast to the finish as far as that goes. These guys look to be between like 12 and 14 pounds, maybe even a couple of 10-pounders. So they're not huge. I don't like to cook really, really big briskets. I like to stay more in that range of 12 to 14 if I can. With my trims, probably trimming off of 3 to 4 pounds of meat. So, you're taking a 12 to 13, 14 pound brisket. Now you're sitting at 8 to 10 pounds maybe. And then you got the cook. So, um, it's it's quite a bit of a cut, you know. I'm sure you guys all know, but people ask why, brisket's so expensive. Um, they don't realize after the trim and everything, you're probably losing, you know, not losing, but you're probably adding. Say you're paying $4 a pound. Yeah, so now all of a sudden you're paying $8 a pound if you lose half of it. So plus you need to make some money on it. So yeah, I'm from California. We don't cook a lot of brisket out here. Um, so when I first started cooking it, I was encouraged to cook it by a friend, and I didn't really like to cook it. Didn't really want to cook it. And it kind of took one of those things that it became like a cook of, kind of like a cook of, oh, okay, I'll cook it. And then it became one of those things where it's not quite right. Need to cook it again and try to improve. And so then it kind of became a thing where I wanted to improve cooking the brisket. I wanted to get as close as I could to a Texas style brisket. Um, and so I just worked at it and worked at it, used some methods from Franklin's class, and then just kind of kept trying to improve on it. And now I actually enjoy the cook. I actually enjoy cooking them. Um, my my customers and friends out here that purchase from me, they just love it. I mean, I sell out every time I cook brisket. I don't think I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back or anything, but I say it because I would have never thought brisket would have been that popular out here in California. Um, and now you have tons of people selling it, tons of people, um, you got people doing pop ups and things like that that are selling that Central Texas style brisket. And um, so it's kind of amazing. When I cook in my gravity fed cooker, I'm using oak. Um, right now, I'm not quite set up for that, and I'll use my pellet smoker. And I'm using actually a mesquite pellet. We know pellet smokers don't provide the same depth of smoke you would normally get from wood smoking. So I try to throw the most uh, robust pellet I can at it, and I found mesquite is that it's 100% mesquite pellet from Lumberjack. Um, Although they've stopped selling that, so I'm gonna have to be able to source that pellet somewhere else eventually. I do have some in stock as far as that goes, but so my simple method um, is I'll trim the briskets, um, and I will season them with salt and pepper, coarse salt and coarse pepper, and I like to use 40% salt, 60% pepper, and I don't do much prep besides that on the briskets. Um, there is certain ways I will cook the brisket in my pellet cooker, just trying to provide and use some of the fundamentals of smoking brisket. Um, so in an offset cooker, you usually got your your um, your draw going left to right, right to left, whichever way. Um, and so in a pellet cooker, well, you don't have your draw going right to left. You actually have your airflow going front to back or back to front. The airflow is this way, not this way. So um, that's just because of the way the drip pan is in the smoker. So uh, I've um, I've noticed just little things. If you put your brisket front to back, where your point is front to back, you just tend to get a little bit better airflow over your brisket, along with using some of your other techniques, rounding it off and make sure there's no sharp edges and things like that. So I'll put it in at 225, depending when I want them done. It might be as early as like 5 p.m. in the afternoon, might be as late as 10 or 11 p.m. at night. I put a little, I use a Fireboard or a ThermalWorks signals. I just put the probe in there to monitor the temperature in my pellet smoker. Um, and I'll set an alarm. So if it goes above 275 or it goes below 150, it'll wake me up. And I let it ride like that all night. Um, Next day, I get up and go take a look and see how things look. And if I got some dry areas, I'll spritz it. If everything's cooking really well and the bark's set up and the temperature is between probably 170, 180, I'll just wrap in some uh, butcher paper, put it back in to finish till it's probe tender, somewhere around 195, 205, somewhere around there. You just never know where it's going to be at. you wanna probe check it. Um, so that's the basic rundown. And then with these briskets, these prime briskets, I like to let them rest about 3 to 4 hours, and just kind of let them relax in a camera, and take them out and slice them, weigh them out, if I'm doing by weight, or if not, then I'll just leave them whole if people buy them whole. So this uh this next sale I'm doing by the pound, or I'm doing by halves, or by whole. So depending on the order, if I do half, what I do is I'll kind of cut the brisket where the point and the flat kind of meet up, and then I'll cut half of the flat. I'll leave them in big chunks as to avoid any kind of drying out as possible. So I'll cut in half this way, then I'll cut the flat in half, and then I'll cut the point in half, and I'll put those together, wrap them back up in the butcher paper, and package them like that for the customer, unless they specifically ask me to slice. I don't like to necessarily slice that far in advance, just because we all know brisket likes to dry out, and it likes to kind of, once that air hits it, so I try to leave it together as much as possible for the longest time before my customer gets it. And so that's how I'll do the half. The whole, obviously, I'll just give them the whole brisket that's wrapped up in the in the butcher paper. By the pound, I'll do a couple slices of flat, couple slices of point, weigh it out, put it in a um, um, Ziploc bag, give them to them like that. If they're going to be holding it a while, then yes, sir, barbecue talk, Mr. Dickinson. Sorry, Mr. Dickinson. Got any questions? Shoot it. You got any comments? Shoot it. We're talking about brisket cook for this week. So then I'll weigh it out. If they're going to store it, I'll usually ask them, "Are you plan on storing it for a while, or storing it a couple of days?" I'll put it in a food saver type bag, take all the air out of it, give it to them like that. That way, that meat is constantly got something against it from to help with preserving the meat. So um, so basically, that's the rundown. Prime brisket. Um, Take that bad boy, trim it, smoke it, let it rest. So my plan is to start tomorrow afternoon, be finished Christmas Eve, sorry, New Year's Eve morning, have it rested, packaged, and then I'll meet my customers for a pickup around 3 p.m. That's going to be my New Year's Eve and New Year's. Kind of not really pushing the envelope. I had a big Christmas Eve and Christmas, so I decided just to stick to brisket for New Year's. Mr. Dickinson, what do you cook on, man? What do you like to cook? Let's get a conversation going. I don't know about barbecuing inside unless you got. Thanks, dude. Um, Barbecuing inside is you got to have a setup for that. Like, you got to have ventilation system somehow. Um, -30. Where are you at? The North Pole, man. I do have a few videos on the trim. Some of my early videos I did on YouTube, or of trimming brisket. Again, I don't trim. I don't do a comp trim. I do a trim that's more geared for feeding. Oh, you're in the North Pole. Okay. Um, Almost. All right, man. Yeah, my trims are geared for eating briskets. I would say, so there's a proper way to trim a brisket for comp. There's a for you to get really nice symmetrical slices and things like that. But there's a way to trim for eating, where your cook on the brisket is going to cook correctly. You're not going to get too much dried out. Um, and then, because that's the trick in trimming a brisket. Like, if you leave it just the way it is when you get it, and let's say you just trim fat, right? You have certain parts of the brisket that will draw moisture from other parts of the brisket because they're thin, and so they'll dry out and draw moisture away from other spots. I got no idea. Can you make biscuits out of sea cows? I don't even know what a sea cow is. Um, I got no idea. That might be a Google question for you. Um, so you want to try to trim the thinner parts of your brisket off, because those parts will affect the other parts of the brisket. Um, like, this is something that is not specific to a smoker. So, um, when I finally understood that concept, like, there's certain principles you can apply when trimming a brisket and smoking a brisket to any cooker, that really took my brisket to the next level, because the mindset often is, oh, that's how you smoke an offset brisket, or that's how you smoke a brisket on offset. That's how you smoke a brisket on gravity fed. Well, there's principles that will overlap in those cooks. So it's finding those principles and applying them to your cook that's going to make your brisket better. And then we know taste is kind of a thing that's personal, right? So I might like a salt and pepper brisket. You might like salt, pepper, garlic brisket. So that's that's the variable. So that's kind of the brisket thing, for me, anyways. I know there's a lot of purists that think, that brisket is best on this cooker, on that cooker, and I'm not going to have that debate, because I'm not a brisket champion. I just cook what I cook, and I know it works because my customers' feedback is they love it. It sells out every time I make it, so those things are encouraging. Um, if I could cook 10 briskets and sell it, and it goes away, it sells, then I know I'm doing something right. If I turn around and make another 10 and only two sell, well, then I know something happened in the last batch that it didn't go well. So you got to kind of judge that. Um, Hello, John. How you doing? How you doing? We're doing a little talk right now. We're talking about brisket and what works for me. Just because I got a brisket cook coming up for New Year's Eve. Go ahead and let us know your thoughts on brisket. So, uh, what works for me is just that. It works for me, and what works for other people is just that. It's what works for them and their clientele. Um, I've had some great briskets off of offset smokers. I've had some not so great brisket off of offset smokers, and vice versa on every kind of smoker you can think of. So I think it has to do more with the cook than the cooker in some cases. Um, and that brings the next point. Um, if you're using a traditional method like an offset, um, that requires a lot of attention to detail, and it's a very special thing. Um, I don't have the stamina or the desire to cook like that. I've tried. I've bought offsets. Uh, I've sold offsets just because um, it's something that I get an itch to do it every once in a while, and after a couple cooks, I kind of lose it, and then the smoker sits there for a year, and so then I sell it. So my other cookers, I tend to use every other week, rotating them, and I enjoy cooking on them like that. And for some reason, the offset doesn't really do that for me. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. I didn't say that at all, right? You could tell I'm really new at YouTube, and I'm really new at live streaming YouTube. As far as for my smoking, I do live streaming for my church as far as YouTube goes. So I have another account with my church, but that's not FaceTime for me. That's I just run it because I'm a sound guy. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a lot of the the key phrases to the people are always doing this. I'll put a link there and stuff like that. um, so this is kind of a new thing for me. I want to do at least a live stream once a week discussing um, certain things coming up in barbecue. Um, One thing I've been getting involved in is SCA state competitions. Um, I kind of developed a little liking of it, and so definitely talk about some of my experiences doing that. And so I want to do a live stream once a week and kind of keep it consistent that way and see what happens. Um, YouTube for me is just another avenue to socialize. It's another avenue to talk barbecue, which I love to do, and it's another avenue to just see what's going on out there in the barbecue world. Because there's just so much barbecue stuff going on. It's pretty amazing, all the different things out there. Nice. Yes. Competitions. I've done a few smaller backyard KCBS style comps. I've done stuff with my friends where, five or six of us kind of do a competition amongst us. Um, and then I started doing some steak stuff, and I really like the steak ones. Something you can do on your own. Um, so it doesn't take 3 days of prep and $300 in meat and expenses and $500 entry fee, and it's simple. $150 gets you in, gets you your meat. You show up with a bag of charcoal in your cooker and as much stuff as you want to bring or as you don't want to bring, and you just pretty much like tailgating in a parking lot for 6-7 hours with a bunch of people you don't know. Um, it's fun. It's competitive. Everybody kind of messes around and shares different pieces of meat they've cooked throughout the day, or because you're only really cooking for what, 20 minutes. Yeah, John. I got a Pits and Spits. I love it. Yes, that's a smart decision. I got the Maverick 2000. Uh, I keep it at my church right now because I do a lot of cooking there. It's a very faithful, trusting cooker. So um, I've cooked thousands of pounds of meat on that thing, and it just continues to put out good flavor. I can understand why why you chose a Pits and Spits, and um, we didn't grow up cooking here, smoking food like that in California. So a lot of this smoking stuff is very new to myself and to the community here. Um, outside your your restaurants or your small mom and pop places that have been around forever, you didn't really see too much smoking going on. Yeah, definitely, especially if you want to get as much smoke flavor as possible, hot and fast. Uh, the hotter your smoker runs, at least your pellet smoker, the depth of smoke will go away because you're just running a cleaner fire. The hotter it gets in a pellet cooker. So low and slow, I would say, is definitely the way to cook a brisket in a pellet smoker. Can it be done the other way? Sure, it could be done. I mean, you could run an oven at 500 degrees and cook it, So, but probably the best way to get the most smoke flavor is um, definitely low and slow. Mine run about 15 hours, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, depending on the size and quality. Um, I haven't done a hot and fast brisket in a while. Haven't really need to. If I need to, I would use my pit maker safe. That thing cooks pretty quick for being a smoker. It's a really tight cabinet, uh, reverse flow cabinet smoker, and it'll cut a brisket cook down to 8 hours at 275, and you can uh, you can really get good depth of smoke, because you can add as much wood to it as you want. So um, yeah, I've been seeing those. It must be a new trending thing. Been seeing Cosmo post a lot of shorts, and um, yeah, I don't know what the new trend is on that. These guys tend to be way ahead of the curve. Maybe it's just to get more videos out that are not long, um, to get your videos more in more people's feeds, things like that. Get your viewership up. Everybody will watch a 60-second video. It's the longer videos that people have trouble with. So not quite sure how that started or why, but that's what I'm thinking is it's a trend. It's a trending thing. Um, so I put out a turkey video last night. Finally got my Turkey Day 2020 video up. It's just more of overview of the day, and it's not a really in-depth video. We cooked 30 birds on my buddy's 500-gallon Harper Pitworks offset. So we got that up. Now we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. Hope you guys have a great day. Very safe New Year's. And we got 2021 coming. Oh wow, that's a nice extended top limousine. Very nice. I think I've seen your stuff on Facebook, John. I think I've seen that setup. It's all stainless, correct? Um, Thanks, dude. I'll continue to pray for your wife. And uh, anyhow, everybody have a great New Year's. Stay safe. Let's bring on 2021 and get this year over with. This is Dyno Dan Smoking, my first live stream barbecue chat. You guys take care. Peace.